exchange webinar. Oh, and we're happy to have you join us today to talk about the outdoor retail outlook. We feel like this is a really important conversation to be having in terms of outdoor recreation. So we have 3 panelists with us today and a guest facilitator, moderator. So we're really excited to bring you this webinar today. First of all, we're going to just let you know that we have 2 more webinars that we'd love for you to join us on November 13th and December 4th. So please go back to the link that you registered for this webinar and register for these last 2. We think they're going to be great in addition to this one. I just wanted to highlight the partnerships that we have here with a lot of Western universities, and just wanted to say thanks to all of them for participating. You guys have brought us lots of great speakers, so thanks for participating. Our agenda today, we're in the welcome session. We'll do 4 polling questions, which will be interactive. You'll get a link or a QR code so that you can help us figure out what answers to the questions that we have created for each of the polling questions. We'll then go into panelist presentations, and then we'll have another polling question between each panelist. And then finally, we hope to have a large amount of time at the end for questions and answers. When you guys registered, there was an opportunity to submit questions. We'll also take questions through the Q&A chat function that is in the bottom of your screen today. You can submit those throughout the webinar, and we will do our best to include them or address them in a timely manner. Other than that, we're gonna hope to end at 1 p.m. and let you get on your day. So our moderator today is Dr. Kristen Morris. She is with CSU's Design and Merchandising Department, and she is an expert in some of the outdoor retail industry areas, and so we're real pleased to have her here today.
Thanks, Guinevere, and thanks for everyone for joining the session today. I think it's going to be an incredible conversation with our 3 panelists. And so I'm honored to be able to facilitate this, and I hope to do you all justice and help kind of have a great, rich conversation today. So the way that we'll run this is what I would like for our panelists to do is to give a short introduction, who you are, so everybody can get to know you a little bit better. And then we'll go through some of your prepared remarks. So Jeffrey, we'll have you introduce yourself, then Joan and Chase, and this will also kind of mirror the presentation order as we get kind of into your prepared remarks. After the kind of remarks are over, that's where we'll get into our Q&A session. So I'd like to first have Jeffrey introduce yourself, and then Joan, you can introduce yourself, and then we'll round out the introductions with Chase.
Okay, my name is Jeff Michael. I'm the director of the Bureau of Business Economic Research at the University of Montana. There I work closely with ITRR, our Institute for Tourism and Recreation Research. So I'm here to talk about some sort of economic trends, how they affect consumers and the retail outlook.
Fabulous, thank you. Joan?
Joan Brandenburger Chase, one of 3 owners at Wild Iris Mountain Sports, and small independent retailer in Lander, Wyoming. I've been working at the shop since 2013. I started as a part-time summer seasonal customer service sales floor employee, and have had a pretty storybook transition into becoming an owner.
Hopefully you'll share that with us. Yeah. All right. And then Chase, will you mind doing your introduction, please?
Of course. My name is Chase Anderson. I work for Utah State University's Outdoor Product Design and Development program as our industry relations manager. I've also been involved in a few other initiatives at the university adjacent to the outdoor industry, including forming our natural fiber hub that brings together textile experts across the institution, as well as created our Outdoor Recreation Archive, which is a global archive of historic documents and photographs from outdoor brands, gear pioneers, founders, and designers.
Great. All right, so I'm going to pass it back to you, Jeff. And I think you're going to start us off with kind of a high-level overview of maybe some of like the trends you're seeing as far as like the economics and the outdoor industry are going.
Sure. What are some of the economic trends and how can they affect the outdoor industry? So there's a couple things that I was thinking about and looking at for this. One is how is participation activities going on? That's ultimately what's going to drive consumer spending, right? If you're going to spend money on outdoor recreation materials and retail, if you're engaging in that activity. We see engagement continues to be extremely high in this sector. Just one indicator we can look at this year, we were sort of interested in the travel season. And what we've observed across the country, and especially here out in the Mountain West, is that interest in outdoor destinations remained extremely high. We saw record visitation numbers at some parks and very high participation in outdoor recreation activities. At the same time that we actually saw really decreases in urban type activities and travel to urban destinations. So in an environment where there's some sort of uncertainty about whether in the economy and consumers and what they're willing to spend on, there's certainly some indicators that they continue to prioritize outdoor recreation activities. So that's good news. Does that activity translate to retail spending? And certainly in the long run, I think the answer to that is yes, right? You're engaging in the activity, you're going to need gear, you're going to need boots, you're going to be interested in the new products that Chase's team is developing. That's all true. In the short term, though, these are discretionary purchases. They are things that people can put off until next year if they're feeling a little wobbly or uncertain about their own finances. And so that is certainly some potential. There's some good news economically. People were worried, especially the second half of this year, the recession risk was a bit elevated. We seem to be persevering through that. The economy continues to grow, incomes continue to grow. Consumer sentiment has decreased. It's lower. There is some pessimism on the part of consumers. It is not decreased to the point of being sort of a contraction. And so the outlook is, we'll see somewhat lower growth, say this holiday season than maybe we have in the most recent ones, but it doesn't appear like we're slipping into a contraction mode for consumers. A few things that are going on now that might affect this sector that people are hearing about in the news, you may be wondering about. I know some are already in the question, so I'll mention a few things, um, and I'll close there. One is everyone's talking about tariffs, right? If you watched the news yesterday, the big tariff case was being argued in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, and really interesting that. This may be an instance where the Supreme Court is going to be potentially willing to rule against the Trump administration. So tariffs have roiled supply chains and the economy over the past year. About half of what we import into the country and is subject to tariffs are actually inputs into the production process. So if you're a manufacturer, you may deal with tariffs on inputs and things like steel or other sorts of raw inputs that you use into your products. And about half the tariffs are on end consumer products. So that might be imported products that a outdoor retailer selling a clothing item, for instance, are heavily exposed to tariffs, and I think are probably one of the biggest concerns for retailers in this space because we really just don't have much domestic clothing production, and we're really dependent on imports on that. And of all consumer sectors, that's the one that's sort of targeted the most. So, big case at the Supreme Court yesterday challenging the legality of these tariffs. And I'll say that challenging the legality of about 50% of the tariffs, some of the discretionary ones. If the Supreme Court rules against the Trump administration, you're going to see a lot of relief on some of these consumer product type tariffs, particularly clothing and retail items. Most of the tariffs on that are seen as more national security, things on steel inputs, cars, trucks, that sort of stuff will remain intact, but you'll get a lot of relief on the consumer items. That sort of uncertainty is freezing things a little bit lately. You may even as a retailer be a little hesitant to import. I don't know. I want to put those products on the boat until I know what the Supreme Court's going to rule and whether I'm going to have to pay tariffs on these to get them out of port. So there's some uncertainty that's freezing up some of that activity now. People got a lot of inventories in at the beginning of the year. They're working their way through it. Things still are kind of stalled. We don't know when the court will rule on that. There's speculation, though, that they see it as a very urgent case and we could have news by December. So that's certainly something to watch on the retail side. Some other things that are happening in policy and labor markets in terms of labor markets and workers. Hiring activity is pretty frozen right now. People are, we're not seeing lots of layoffs, but we're seeing people take really extended time periods to find new jobs. My own daughter has been just finally got out of the abyss on that after 4 to 6 long months, and she's not alone. The good news for a retailer is that you might actually find some of these people willing to work holiday jobs, maybe that weren't in the past. So that might be a little silver lining for you, and when it comes to that, it may be a little bit easier on that. Of course, those are also consumers. Looking ahead to consumption, overall consumers spending, it remains growing, but there are pockets of trouble. There are debt levels are pretty good. Households are in pretty good shape when it comes to spending. The one exception on debt levels for some of your consumers has been the resumption of student loan payments. So some of your younger consumers have had pretty good times for a few years when it comes to things like student loans being deferment and forbearance, more so than in the past. They've seen those payments resume in recent months, and it is impacting the budgets and spendings for people that are exposed there. On the older side of the spectrum, the government shutdown, right, is all about healthcare and health insurance subsidies. So um, I would say, people that are self-insuring or using the government exchanges, particularly those that are on the older side. So if you have a lot of customers sort of in that 50 to 65-year-old segment, there's a lot of people my generation have been trying to figure out self-employment and early retirement so we can pursue our outdoor recreation pursuits. Those same people may be big spenders in your stores. Some of those folks are going to see some nasty surprises on their healthcare costs over the next year, and that could impact what they spend. So there's pockets kind of a trouble that you might run into as a retailer, but in the aggregate, things are continuing to move forward, and I think you're still in a pretty good space. I'd rather be selling outdoor recreation gear than cars or something like that right now. So with that, I think I'll close my remarks.
All right. Well, thanks, Jeff. I mean, I have lots of follow-up questions, but we'll hold those to the end, I
Okay.
think. I also think you're pretty humble in your introduction of yourself. Your bio says that you've published 100 articles and reports. So if people want to know more, can they look up some of your recent reports?
Sure, sure. Just reach out. I'm easy to find.
Sounds good. All right, so now we're going to hand it off to Joan. And Joan, I'd love to hear kind of your perspective as a small business owner and yeah, learn more from kind of the other side of the coin, which is, the retailer.
Yeah. Um, I mean, listening to Jeffrey is so educational for me as well, and totally parallel to my world. Um, I, yeah, am one of the owners of a small, uh, outdoor specialty retailer. We were founded in 1990 here in Lander. And originally we were only super specialty rock climbing. But over the years, pretty quickly developed into backpacking and hiking. Lander does have um, many areas for rock climbing, but we're also at the foothills um, of the Wind River Range, which uh, is small but mighty and the largest collection of glaciers in the lower 48 of the US, including Marlin Glacier National Park and the Cascades. Just my own little
What?
look into
Yeah.
it. It's very beautiful. Um, but we're in a town of 7,000 people. We're fairly isolated. It's about a 2.5 hour drive to Casper, to Jackson, to Rock Springs, to Cody, and not much going on in between those places. Um, so we've become one of the only local places where folks are able to shop for things like winter jackets and hats and gloves. So by necessity, we do lean into lifestyle quite a bit, which um, since COVID has been a nationwide and a worldwide trend, like the whole athleisure thing. So we've been really lucky that was already part of our uh, business model. And then Lander's also home to the National Outdoor Leadership School, which is known as Knowles. And Knowles is celebrating 60 years this year. Um, and Knowles definitely has had a cultural influence here in Lander on bringing outdoor recreation professionals to come and bring their families. Knowles is uh, I believe Knowles just released or with University of Wyoming, just released a financial impact study where they talk about their employment rate. I know for certain that they used to be the number one employer in Fremont County. Right now, I'm forgetting if they're number one or number two. Um, but they have 150 in-town employees, as well as hundreds of instructors who are coming in and out of Lander on their way to work programs, either backpacking, rock climbing, maybe going down to Utah and doing some canyoneering or some paddling. So Knowles certainly brings a lot here, but also geographically, we're just perfectly positioned. So would I have bought an outdoor recreation specialty store anywhere? No, but Lander's really special. Excuse me. And Haley, thank you so much for adding the Knowles website and that economic impact study to the chat. Those are it's a very interesting read, and I'm hoping to spend more time because my business is not dependent on Knowles, but it is certainly influenced by Knowles. And it's funny that Jeff mentioned that he wouldn't want to be selling cars right now because I wouldn't. But like one of the quotes I always say is, um, we could sell a used car, but it doesn't mean that we should sell a used car. Because in a small town, we probably could sell everything, but most of our job is to figure out what we should sell, which is both needs of our community as well as culturally who we are, and partnering with brands that um, I'm looking forward to what Chase has to say also, because on the manufacturing side, do they have availability? Are they anticipating in price increases on their product? Are there really long waits and back orders? So partnerships with the brands that we're purchasing from. Um, Guinevere, would you fast forward to my second, third, and fourth slide slowly, just moving through? These are our sales by month, which really shows the summer influence that we have here in Lander. Um, we make, most of our money during the 3 months of summer. Because of outdoor recreation tourism attracting people here. We are not on the primary route to Yellowstone, but we are on the scenic route to Yellowstone. But our doors are open 12 months a year, 7 days a week. And we do have a really wonderful local customer base who are so supportive of us. But the summer months definitely are the only way that we are able to stay a year-round successful business. Right now, it's myself and our two. Oh, sorry. If you'll flip one more to the next slide with a pie chart. This is just a little bit of information, just sort of showing um, the pie chart on the left shows like the categories, and this is percent of our annual sales. This is an average of our 2023 and 2024 sales. Sorry, I did not include year-to-date 2025 in there, but excuse me, I imagine it's pretty similar to this. We have been tracking data on categories since 2011, which was before I joined the store in 2013. But it's pretty consistent year to year. Women's apparel, that athleisure thing. Um, People in Lander, they want to be able to buy a piece that, yes, they can go hiking in, but they also want to be able to go to work, go out to dinner, go do all the things. Hard goods. We do have hard goods and climbing broken out into two different categories. So think of hard goods mostly as, um, and I know camp is a separate category, so it gets confusing, but hard goods is like uh, water bottles. It does include bear spray. It includes backpacks. Um, Whereas camp is pretty specific to sleeping bags and tents. Um, yeah, and then men's apparel, still a big slice of the pie, but a little bit smaller. And then climbing, which is really impressive when you think about that 12% of our business is based off of climbing is really rare in the specialty retail world. We're really lucky that we have been able to dedicate a lot of floor space in our store. About 15% of our sports, our floor space is for climbing, which is pretty close to the amount of sales that it gives us. Um, but other stores are not so lucky to be able to carry such a wide range of climbing equipment. And that's one thing that makes us really special and why people seek us out to come shop here is that we've become specialist. And then, sorry, on the right, it's just listing, so you get an idea of the brands that we sell. Our quote, most popular brands are all number 6 Wilders. That's our logo wear, which is the only category I'm responsible for. So, point of pride. Um, and then I think that's it for my slides, if I recall. Yep. Um, excuse me, sorry, I'm fighting a cold.
Oh, no.
Um, Okay, so that was sort of all over, but a big part of who we are is hosting events and collaborating with local organizations. We are the host of, we're not the organization that puts it together, but we are the physical space for a lot of the International Climbers Festival, which is the longest running climbing festival in the world. That happens every July, and that's part of that spike in that graph that you saw is all the rock climbers coming to town for that. We do 2 fundraising parties a year, one for a pet shelter and one for um, a trail organization or a public land initiative. Um, we try to keep it pretty, like it appeals to folks who live here in Lander. Um, and then we're working on hosting clinics for folks or social nights at least once a month just to get people to come in and talk to. Um, we were able to host, um, we are not a guide service and we do not offer guide service, but we work really closely with the guides who are here in town. And so their lead guide came and gave a whole talk about planning a trip to Gannett Peak, which is a technical ascent and the highest peak in Wyoming. And it was really well attended. And we partnered with a local bakery who made appetizers for the event. And we had a local brewery donate beer. It was a really great showcase of Lander and an example of how lucky we are to be working on building this community, um, which is, we have to sell stuff to keep the doors open, but um, I'll talk more about it maybe later. Um, Connecting with people we think is really how we're going to convince them to spend our money with us. Um, and then if I'm doing okay on time, I'll talk maybe a little bit about my staff and my direct responsibilities.
Sure, if you want. Yeah, just a couple minutes, and then I hope when we get to the Q&A that the community stuff will resurface. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so my job responsibilities are hiring, training. I supervise and put together those community events. I work with the nonprofits on those fundraisers and donation opportunities. And then, so those are like my fun. I get to interact with people and my employees. And then for me, the less fun, because I do not have a background in accounting or computer work, I'm the one who pays the bills. Um, and tells my two co-owners, Jake and Austin, who are the buyers. They're the ones responsible for buying all of the inventory in the store, but I'm the one who gets to tell them how much they get to spend. Um, so I spend about 50-50 of my time out on the sales floor. After I get off this call, I'm gonna head out there and be lunch coverage for someone so they can go home and eat. In the summertime, we had a staff of 24 folks. Um, but this time of year, it's about half of that. We have like 12 to 14. I have quite a few high school students who also participate in extracurriculars, so they take time off for their athletic seasons and such. Um, but we have 8 full-time employees. We deem full-time 32 hours a week here, which is a 4-day work week. Um, and see a ton of success with that, keeping employees happy. Um, and yeah, we all do everything. So 50% of my time on the sales floor, 50% of my time at the desk. Same with my co-owners, Jake and Austin. They spend about half their time, depending on the season, at their desk. And then during order writing season, um, they get a lot more time at their desk. Yeah, maybe I'll cut it off there.
All right, thanks, Joan. Thanks for doing this with your voice. I'm sure.
Sorry about that. I know it's annoying.
No, I feel like it's that time of the year. So, yeah, I hope we can come back to some of these questions because I know one of the questions is about like the why of the events and things like that. So it'll be really great to hear some of that. All right, Chase, I'm going to hand it off to you. And I think there's a pretty good segue there on, like preparing the next generation of outdoor recreation professionals. So there's a poll up if you want to participate in that. And yeah, we'll get you started.
All right, great. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm going to share a few links in the chat, just that I'll be referring to throughout my brief presentation. So my goal today is to share a little bit about what Utah State University's Outdoor Product Design and Development Program is doing to prepare the next generation of employees and workforce that's going to come in energize this industry and grow it moving forward. Our program focuses on the design of sports and outdoor apparel, gear, soft goods, hard goods, footwear, anything that you need for sport and outdoor activities. The program started 10 years ago, which is really amazing to think about. I included a link in the chat as well that talks a little bit about our 10-year anniversary celebration and how this program came to be and what we're doing to celebrate and commemorate that, this accomplishment, including bringing some key icons back to the university to inspire the next generation, including people like Hap Klopp, who acquired the North Face in 1968 when it was a retail store and turned it into the powerhouse that it is today. So if you could cycle through the next couple slides here. This is me. I live in Logan, Utah, Cache Valley, cyclist. My wife and I, Talia, live in Logan. We both went to school at Utah State and love it here because of that access to outdoor recreation and opportunities. And it's the perfect place for a program like outdoor product design and development. So again, the degree started 10 years ago, and I've been involved as our industry relations manager for about 8 years. So I've seen every one of our graduating classes come through the program, and my responsibility is to build industry connections and relationships and help these students be prepared to make that transition into industry. I'm also involved in the creation of the Outdoor Recreation Archive, which is a collection of over 15,000 catalogs and magazines from over 1,000 outdoor companies. It's all housed in our library that you can see here. And it's a public resource. So I'll talk a little bit more about it as I go through the presentation, but it's become a resource globally. If you could go to the next one. For those who don't know, like at our core, this program is about creating products that solve problems for people. That's what we try to communicate to our students is everything in the world around us was designed by somebody, and we train the students or the employees that are going to go and create the world around us. So at our core, that's our mission. The program, it's like a traditional design program in that you learn core design skills around visualizing your ideas through sketching, through digital design, through 3D tools, and one kind of unique in some ways aspect of our program is our emphasis on hands-on prototyping. So lots of time in the sewing lab, lots of time prototyping in the machine shop or woods lab. And at the end of the day, designers are visual communicators. They are problem solvers. That's at the end of the day what we're trying to do is train people who are going to go out and solve problems for people who are out recreating. And we want to make that experience better for people. And we try to foster curiosity within our students. So that's a lot of focus on identifying problems and solving problems in innovative ways for people who want to get outside. One thing that's made our program especially successful is that buy-in from industry. And I think that's a helpful takeaway today is we haven't been able to do this on our own. This program wouldn't be successful if it was just our professors thinking, would it be cool if we created a program? And, it's really been successful because we've invited industry into the classroom and asked them, like, what do you need from future talent to make sure that our industry is successful? So we pride ourselves on a lot of collaborations, and I'll talk a little bit about what those collaborations look like with companies. We have a great job placement rate. We've got over 80% of our graduates across the 8 years that we've had a graduating class, like in positions in the industry. And these I could update these names, but we've got graduates at companies like Under Armour, Nike, Patagonia, Black Diamond, Columbia Sportswear, and more. A couple student success stories that I thought I'd highlight just to showcase the impact that young talent can have on our industry and what we can do when we welcome in people into our industry and find ways to prepare them is, Bailey Vogler came to our program and her goal was to design climbing equipment for Black Diamond. And when she graduated, she got hired at Black Diamond and she's designing climbing equipment. And our program provided an on-ramp for her to do that. She was also our college valedictorian, so just a rock star in so many ways. Jack Dorrance is another incredible graduate of ours who showed that our students can have global impact. He participated in what's called the Woolmark Performance Challenge. It's a global design challenge for students across the world, where they're tasked with solving problems in the wool industry. And this was a full trail running kit that he designed that was intricately patterned to improve thermoregulation using wool. And he was a finalist, one of the top 10, was flown out to Munich to present his concepts. And just shows that, if we create opportunities for more voices, young talent to come into our industry, they can have a global impact. Again, just to show kind of the impact over the years that our students have been having. The one on the right with the glasses, Aaron Wright, he was part of our first graduating class in 2019. And what's fun is he works at Under Armour, and he got on a Zoom call for work, and all 4 of the people on the call are all graduates from our program and all working at Under Armour. He actually interviewed the person behind him. He graduated a couple years after him, so interviewed him, hired him onto the team. So again, our graduates are out there and having an impact. We've tried to broaden our scope and our reach globally. So there's actually, people always ask, like, are there other programs like this? And there is one at IUT Annecy in France. And we have an exchange program where students can go and study their 3rd year abroad. They get the opportunity to tour Solomon headquarters, go to ISPO, the large global sport and outdoor trade show, and then they can come back and finish their 4th year with us, and they graduate with 2 degrees, even though they've only done 1 year abroad, which is really amazing. If we could go to the next slide. Some ways that industry has gotten involved in the classroom is another focus of mine. And it's kind of, I think, been really transformational for our program. We've incorporated design sprints into the curriculum, where we invite companies to come in and pose a design challenge to a group of students, and project runway style, over the course of just a day, groups of students tackle this problem and then are expected to present their concepts back to the company by the end of the day. So if you scroll through, there's a few companies we've worked with: MSR, Bass Pro, Grand Trunk, Track, and a number of other companies have participated in that. So again, creating real opportunities for students to tackle real problems in the industry. We're really proud of the guest speakers that we're able to bring in. This is the founder of Goal Zero. And there's a list, I think, in the next slide, of a number of other guest speakers that we've had that have spent time working with our students. So we love having industry voices in the classroom. Oh, and that's the end of my presentation, I guess. So I was going to talk a little bit more about the archive, but I think I'm close to the end of my time. So I guess I can leave it at that. If you have other questions, happy to answer those. But again, I've included some resources in the chat as well about the 10-year anniversary, the program, the archive, and then we have a podcast as well where we bring in industry voices, both past and present, and talk about the history of the industry and where it's going.
Fabulous. It sounds amazing. I'm just curious, where are the majority of your students coming from? Are they in-state, out-of-state?
That's a great question. So our program was one of the first to form that's focused on outdoor product design and development. And so I think that drove a lot of interest nationally. So actually, the university breakdown of in-state, out-of-state students across the university is 75%, 25%, I believe. In-state, out-of-state, and within outdoor product design, it's 60-40. So we have significantly higher out-of-state recruitment than the rest of the university.
Yeah, amazing. I kind of thought maybe so. So Alrighty, so now thank you all it's amazing to hear about your experiences and all the amazing work that you're doing and researching. And I really do think that we've got some, thought leaders on this call from like a multifaceted perspective. So yeah, I just was thinking maybe we could get Jeffrey back into the conversation a little bit. It's been a minute. And I think for all of these questions, I'd love to hear, just have you guys jump in and kind of whatever feels natural. But um, yeah, I was just kind of thinking like, Jeffrey, if like based on what you've heard today, from our other speakers, is there anything that resonated with you from like an economic standpoint that maybe Joan brought up? Or Joan, do you have any like you're also seeing in your store some of the economic trends that Jeffrey kind of alluded to? Jeffrey mentioned that the outdoor recreation space has been pretty immune to some of these economic challenges. Joan, would you say that's the case for you in your experience?
Um, we are not immune, but very insulated, I
Okay.
would say. Um, I was not an employee here at the time, but the previous owners used to talk about us being insulated from the 2007, 2008 financial recession. Uh, and I was taking notes as Jeff was talking earlier because it's nice to hear it from someone else, sort of reinforcing these things about travel trends and how more people are pursuing the outdoors and less are pursuing the urban experience. I also agree with I'm not sure it was the wording Jeff used, but outdoor equipment is a non-essential purchase. And so people are making really thoughtful purchases that, again, they can put off, they can defer for another season, another year. Um, so this year, um, we set really modest sales goals here at the store. And that was, before we even knew the introduction of the proposed tariffs and the, um, changes in travel that are happening. And um, we were not setting out to break any records this year. We were just hoping to maintain, and maintain we have. So now we're thinking about what we want next year to look like.
Yeah. Well, and I know you mentioned this is your co-owners area, but I was just curious about what they're seeing with respect to ordering, particularly anything, imported products, how they're approaching that and what that looks like for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We used to preseason, like a year in advance, order 80% of our annual inventory for the year. So my coworker's at a trade show right now in Kansas City, Missouri, where he's seeing line showings of products that probably um, students who have gone through Chase's program have designed and been produced. Um, and he's placing orders for what we're going to carry next year. And we used to preseason about 80% and leave about 20% of our annual buying budget for open to buy or, fill in orders throughout the year. Now we've really switched to a 50-50 so that we're able to pivot more. We're
Mhm.
not in like, committing to as big of an inventory because things are more expensive for less products than they had been. I mean, July 1st this year, the number of emails we received with spreadsheets for price increase updates. Um, I think I've ordered more price labels this year. This is all from Big Price Label because, um, some companies are going right in and doing a 30% increase at once on some products, and other companies are doing, um, a 5% increase here, and then a 10%, and then next season we're going to see another 10%. So that's been an interesting strategy too, to see how different companies, um, sorry, Jeff, that's not totally answering your question. Um,
Uh,
we also get
It
notified
hits
of these.
perfectly answering my question,
Okay.
actually. Yeah.
we also get
Mhm.
notified of these price increases sometimes. Um, and this summer, when our cash flow is higher, we were placing orders for more inventory. You know, we like to place orders pretty regularly so we don't have a huge outflow of money and an inflow of inventory that we're not guaranteed to sell. But this summer, when large price increases we were being notified of them, we did go ahead and order more inventory at the end of our season than we would have at a lower price because we're being told, oh, this same thing is going to be more expensive in 3 months, 6 months next year. Um, so yes, it has changed our ordering model. And as somebody who oversees the money, I every 2 weeks, I'm running lots of reports on our inventory and our accounts payable. Um, yeah, so I'll be, yeah, to look at our end of year financials of inventory to cost of goods will be very interesting.
Mm. And I mean, that totally makes sense to me. I mean, I talk about how things are maybe more stable than people might think on the sort of the consumer on the demand side. On the other side of the business, on the the inventory, the supply, the ordering side is really a lot of uncertainty and challenges that you guys are dealing with. So yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, I mean, I hope you can remain flexible. So, um, Chase, are you, I guess I'm wondering, like, when you're placing students on internships, are they, I think they're probably mostly interested in going into like product development roles. Do you see people that are interested in the business side and they, you know, um, yeah, looking to run their own business and where I don't know what the question is, but I just I'm assuming that there's some kind of like trends that you're seeing on where students want to go. But I also think there's opportunities like, Wild Iris to really get your hands dirty on kind of the business and buying side.
Yeah,
Do you,
I think that's the beautiful thing about the program is a lot of students come in because they think design is the only option, right? It's what they've heard of, it's what they're most familiar with. And we actually put our students through in the first semester a class called Intro to Product Creation, where we talk to them about the whole product creation, product development process, who are all of the individuals that touch a product all along the way. And it's not just design. There's so many other individuals that are involved in creating a product through design, through the business side, supply chain, sustainability. Like there's all these other roles that are tied to and connected to product. So while we do focus so much on design, we have two other emphasis areas in the program. A product development emphasis that gets more into the nitty gritty of like how to actually get this thing manufactured with a factory, the material sourcing, the supply chain management, some of those roles. And then we have a product management track as well that gets more into marketing management, e-com, all of those buying as well. So there's so many opportunities. I think that's what's exciting for us to share with the students is even within design, there's tech design, there's color materials and finish design. Like there's industrial design versus apparel design. There's so within each of those emphasis areas, there's a whole bunch of different roles and opportunities that we try to share with our students. A lot of our students, I think it's either like work for a big company or work for themselves, and we do show them like there's small brands that need your skill set. We pride ourselves on our students being able to wear a lot of different hats, which is really valuable at a large company, medium size, or their own startup. At a big company like a Nike, it's great for a design student to also be familiar with product development so they can relate to and speak the same language as the rest of their team. Whereas, as working at a small business, you are a designer, developer, product manager, all in one. So we have a number of students that want to start their own business. And for those students, we highly recommend and connect them in with our entrepreneurship center here at the university. where they can get an entrepreneurship minor in a summer. They have an accelerated entrepreneurship minor. And now we have a track record of a few of our graduates like launching successful companies, and we're able to invite those graduates back who have founded companies to help mentor and support students who are looking to start a business as well. So I think a lot of them are looking for security, and I advise them that way as well. It's like, go get a job with a secure, for a company that's secure, get a paycheck, make your mistakes on someone else's dime, and then go launch your company. But we certainly have students that want to launch something right out of school as well.
Yeah. All right, so I guess from panelist perspective, is there anything else that we want to talk about? Or Haley or Guinevere, is there anything that came through in the chat? I haven't been able to watch that, but we have about 10 minutes left. Is there anything we want to touch on that's really top of mind, pressing right now?
I would ask a question to Chase about, maybe it's a bit chicken or egg, but do you think design dictates trends or trends dictate design?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit of both,
Mhm.
frankly. And I should have our faculty member who teaches our trend and strategy class talk about that. But yeah, I think it's a good question, because we have students who, we have them look at WGSN, the big trend forecasting service, and I think it's really easy for a lot of our students to look at that and say, oh, okay, these are the colors that are coming up, like plug and play, right? And certainly those tools have a lot of value, but we're also trying to teach our students, like, you can't just rely on that. You actually, if you want to find new and novel insights, like, you need to be the one that goes and creates the trend report, by talking to real people and going and connecting with users who are doing niche activities or sports, right? Go out and talk to those people, and that's where you're going to get unique insights that might not show up in those trend reports. So I think that's the beauty of our industry, is that it's so focused on like solving problems that you could get caught up in the trend side, and certainly like trend and aesthetics and beauty of a product, like it has to be desirable for someone to purchase it. But at the end of the day, it also has to solve a problem, and that doesn't necessarily always show up in a trend report. So we do focus a lot on our students, like going out and finding unique problems to solve, like actual pain points, and then looking at the trend, piece and applying that. So it's a combination for sure.
Thank you. That was great.
I think a question that somebody submitted, but also we kind of talked about a little bit in our pre-calls, was this idea of e-commerce. And Jeff, I think you wanted to ask about it. Joan, you said something that kind of rocked my world, because I didn't think you ever had an option to not participate in e-commerce. And so it was really interesting to hear your perspective at Wild Iris. And then I would love to know, like, yeah, Jeff, if you have like some thoughts about it, where are we headed? So, Joan, will you share your story that you shared previously, and then we can kind of hear the
Oh,
other
I
piece.
was gonna say I want Jeff to go first.
Oh,
No.
that's fair.
So he can tell me how important e-com is and that I need to change my mindset. Um, so we my business partners Jake, Austin, and I, we bought our investor out at the beginning of this year, 2025. And in 2023 we had bought the business from the original owners in 2023 with the help of an investor. The investor worked in the tech world, and he was really keen to do a rebrand on Wild Iris and bring us into the digital age. Our website certainly needs an update, but he really wanted to invest in an e-com platform. Our investor, he was not a part of the day-to-day here, but he does work in the tech world, and he is an outdoor user himself. So he was pitching this to us as like, people want this. Like, it's not just me. I am an example of people But Jake, Austin, and I, as the three who are in the store every day, um, we do not have the infrastructure in like managing an inventory to sell online. We do not believe that we will ever be one of the giants to pop up online when you're searching for something. And so that's not our mission. Our mission is to help people get outside. And so now we've sort of, after buying our investor out, we have been updating our website. We now list our inventory online so you can view our live inventory and see what we carry. But the only things that you're able to purchase through our website are things that are logoed specifically to our store or regionally specific. So guidebooks, maps, and other resources. Um, because believe that we're never going to be able to play ball. And so we're going to conserve our energy and put it into, um, you know,
Right.
uh, what does work for us.
Right. Building your community and making your experience awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me all the
No,
things
I
that,
I think your strategy is right. I'm actually quite impressed with you as a business person, being on this call. I mean, I think you're making the right judgments, right? I mean, you're not going to be able to, if someone's shopping for a Patagonia item online, you're not going to be able to be the lowest cost supplier of that. Your role is going to be helping somebody connect to that product that's in your store and has a need today. So that completely makes sense. I mean, when it comes to e-commerce, right? I mean, it was all about the pandemic. We saw this massive increase in people's spending shifting online. They couldn't build the Amazon warehouses fast enough, and the distribution systems. And there's a lot of predictions that this was the end of bricks and mortar retail. That if this trend lines continue, I actually probably didn't prepare well enough for this to see exactly what the most recent data on this is, but I do know that those predictions were overinflated and that we've seen consumers' share of spending that is online has kind of leveled off since then, rather than continue to grow uh, at that same s- at that same pace. So I don't know the latest data, but there's still sort of an opportunity to be successful in the kind of space that you're working in, and consumers that want that experience.
also to sort of, somebody jump in if there's a different question, but to bridge my world between Jeff and Chase, where it's Wild Iris is also a member of the outdoor, or excuse me, the Grassroots Outdoor Alliance, GOA, which is a nationwide collective of independent outdoor specialty retailers. And during those COVID years, um, all of our independent retailers together, our buying power, so the amount of money that our independent stores were spending with brands, surpassed the power of REI and Backcountry and what they were spending with brands, which um, maybe it has no effect on Chase's world, but I just think it's interesting that then, sort of with that shift, brands really started to, they already listened to us. We're really lucky. They do take feedback into their design and marketing and all those things. But, when you start spending more money than someone, people go, oh, maybe you are valuable. So from brands, just the shift in power from like, oh, we're going to keep catering to the big ones. And now they're realizing the value in specialty as well. Um, so that's been a fun shift to be along for.
Absolutely. And thanks for bringing up the grassroots outdoors, outdoors.com. I think Haley just put that in the chat as well. So I think we're right at time. I know there was a couple questions that we didn't quite get to. So for the panelists, are you okay entertaining some emails or a roundup of questions? Okay. And then yeah, I believe the recording of today's session will be hosted on the University of Wyoming's website. So it can be a resource and reference to you, and also, the student group. I'm thinking about my students, getting them engaged in this platform is really incredible. I think the real kind of takeaway is the regional kind of awesomeness that this panel has shown, right? From like Wyoming and Montana and Utah and here in Colorado, where I'm at. Like, we have a lot of amazing things happening here, and we can be the leaders in this space as we, from Chase and I's perspective, prepare the next generation of students, but also from like the small specialty store perspective, and then from the big picture economic side of it. There's lots of incredible people right here that can be resources. So all right, I'm going to hand it back to Guinevere. Thank you, everyone, and I think Guinevere, will you take us home?
Sure, I just wanted to say thanks to everyone, and real quickly wanted to remind you that we have 2 more webinars coming up, so please join us again. But I did want to say thanks to Haley, who's been behind the scenes running the Q&A, and everyone in attendance, and especially as speakers, and Kristen, thank you for moderating today. We really appreciate these conversations, and reach out to Haley and I if you guys have ideas about, hey, we want to hear more of this or less of that. We really want to make these work for you. So thank you guys so much for attending today, and we'll let you get on with the rest of your day.
Thanks, Guinevere.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.